Cassie and Eric here, and thanks for joining us on She Talks, He Listens, the podcast where we dive into the ups and downs of relationships through all of life's twists and turns.
We're here to share our journey with you and explore the many lessons we've learned along the way. Whether you're just starting out, hoping to strengthen your relationship, or working to reconnect, we've got you covered. Join us as we challenge and inspire you to grow together and become the very best versions of yourself, side by side.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to She Talks, He Listens. We do have quite a bit to cover today. A lot has happened since our last episode. And
It's only been 2 weeks.
We are excited to share.
Yes, we have a new baby. She's here with us. She's going to eat during this episode. We'll see how that goes.
Our first guest on the show is going to be Sophie May. So
I didn't think about that. We are so excited to share about what has happened in the last 2 weeks. But before we do, we just want to let you know, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, follow the podcast, share it. For those of you who have already, thank you. But we're going to jump right in. We've got a new segment that we came up with.
Really in the last 2 weeks, as our oldest daughter has been saying just the funniest stuff since Sophie's been born. So the new segment's going to be called Stuff Your Kids Say.
Yes. We'll be totally honest as we introduce the segment. We wanted it to be shit our kid says, but we're going to remain PG and minus that one offense there. Strike one for me, but stuff your kids say. And so once an episode, we want to highlight something that our child has said in the last week that really just surprised us, made us laugh. We felt like it was worth sharing. And then we want to open it up to you guys. So if you have something, we're going to encourage you to drop it in the comments and share it with us, because kids really do say the darnest things, like that show that we had growing up. Yeah. And so for the first segment, first time we're doing this, we're going to give you two instead of one, because these two kind of go hand in hand and they're really funny. So I do want to preface this a little bit. We have learned a lot in 2 weeks and have a lot more learning to do about having two kids. And no one really prepares you for not only the transition, but the things that your oldest is going to say after you have a baby. And so our daughter came to visit us in the hospital to meet her sister. And she was asking me what I was doing with Sophie as I was breastfeeding. And I could have never really prepared myself for that question, let alone getting asked that like 12 hours post-delivery. And
sleep deprived.
Yeah, I think I did my best to explain it. But as I'm explaining it to Hallie, then her response was, "Mommy has boobs and Daddy has nipples like me." And then like a week later, a few days later.
I think it was, maybe just a few days. Your family was in town and we were in the car, and Sophie starts crying, and you said, "I think Sophie might be hungry." And Hallie just says, "It's okay, Mommy. She can use my nipples."
So hard not to just absolutely listen. She says this stuff and she's not like wrong. She's trying to understand and process. She's 3. And so that's really made us laugh. And so we have started like taking note of these things that she's saying. One, so we don't forget, because they're really funny. And two, so that we can share them with you. So the segment Stuff Our Kids Say, we are excited to continue on this journey with you guys. And we are excited to hear what stuff you come up with, or actually your kids come up with that you decide to share with us. So we're going to ask you to share those in the comments when we share the episode. But that is going to lead us into how labor and delivery went.
Yeah, I mean, it was eventful to say the least.
Yeah.
We started out obviously at the doctor's office, and he had sent us over to the hospital, and that's where stuff got kind of crazy.
Yeah. So I really thought I was going to go early. Everybody in our circle knew that I felt like she was coming early. Our first came early. And so I feel like my girls are just on their time, like I am. So she was 3.5 weeks early, just like her sister. And basically, we got admitted right after we had our checkup with the doctor. And we were, walked into this big, beautiful room at the hospital. And I was so excited. We were at a new hospital this go around. It's a newer hospital. The room was so nice.
It was like a suite.
It was ginormous. I was like, this is awesome. So I said to our nurse, I was like, how long are we going to be here? Just trying to gauge like what we should unpack, not unpack. And she's like, oh, you're going to be here for a while. It won't be until after the baby is born that we move. And I said, okay, well, great. I only ask you that because with our first, we had to move rooms 3 times.
3 times.
Yeah. And it was like all weird stuff. So we had to move rooms because like our monitor.
Yeah, equipment didn't work.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. The bed didn't work once, and they had to shift you to a new bed. So
walking through the hospital with all of our stuff, me in my hospital gown. It was an adventure. And then we had to move again once we had Hallie.
And you pack like you're going on vacation. So I'm just going down the hallways with 6 bags and snack bags.
I was packing for what we needed for the time in the trip. And so we were so excited. I was sitting in this room like, this is awesome. This totally makes up for what we experienced the first time.
Yeah.
And so we get introduced to our nurse. She's fantastic. And my water broke, right?
Yeah, he had just broke your water.
Yes. And we're sitting minding our own business.
I think I think it was right before that is when they were trying to get your IV in. They finally did. And then just a stream of water shoots up from
Niagara Falls, starts shooting out of our
faucet in the sink.
It's like we're over here and it's over there, and there's just water shooting
and it's
straight up.
It's just black water.
It's not clean.
Pretty nasty stuff. It smells. So like I'm helping the nurse lay down towels so it doesn't like overflow.
Frantically
getting
like
close to the bed,
creating barricades with the towels that our room did have.
And so that's when the doctor came in and broke your water, and then he was like, "Oh, that's gross. That's."
He was like, "If you guys aren't here when I come back, I'll find you."
Yeah.
The whole hospital, like the whole staff was panicking.
Yeah. And then the maintenance guys come in and pour some Drano down, and it was getting close to lunch. It was around noon, so they do their job, and then they just look at us and they're like, "Well, we're going on our lunch. We'll be back in about 45 minutes
to check on it."
And 25 minutes later, it shoots up again, even more so than the first time.
It's flooding
even more. So
it's coming towards us.
I think they made an emergency call because those guys were up there pretty quickly the second time.
Well, at that point, I had also gotten my epidural during all of this. And I couldn't walk. Like I was like no longer mobile to go anywhere. And at first we were going to try to tough it out because we had all of our stuff there. And we were like, okay, this is worth it. We'll stay. And then, even though it did smell, and then what did they say? There's a chance, there's
a chance that it could come through the ceiling. So, yeah, they were going to give us the option to stay in the room or move, and we're like, oh, we'll stay. And they're like, well, there's a chance it could come through the roof. And we're like, okay, we'll move.
Yeah, so we did. We moved. They moved us and our 6 bags down the hall to a much smaller room with a functioning sink.
And I think the best part about it was the maintenance guy. That guy had a terrible job because he was just sitting in there trying to make small talk with us while you were having contractions. It's just like, have you tried the barbecue place over? I think it was like 25 minutes away.
Have you been up to Montesano, referencing
You've been hiking
a hiking place here? And y'all, you're not wearing any clothes. You're wearing a hospital gown. I'm having contractions. This was before the epidural, so I'm feeling the contractions. Yeah. I'm generally a friendly person. I love to talk to people, but this was not the time that I really wanted to be chatting about food, which for those of you who know me, I don't even really like a lot of food. So he's talking about the stuff that I'm like, I don't care. So we finally got to our new room, and really everything went so smoothly, and we are so fortunate. I I birthed a watermelon, even though she was 3.5 weeks early. It's fine. Remember, we told you on our last episode that like we knew she was going to be a big girl, like she's a big girl. And so we were really, really, really lucky that was like the peak of the saga, and we had a great staff. And so that's what really matters. But you and I continue to joke that like, if there's going to be something that goes wrong, it's going to happen to us.
It'll happen
every time. The shortest but slowest line at the grocery store, we'll pick it.
Yeah. Like on the interstate, we got hit with one of those traffic. It wasn't a cone. A cone doesn't do it justice. It was one of those big orange barrels. A semi truck basically spun its wheel over it, and it just flipped it back and
literally took out our car.
Yeah, hit our car.
Newborn. That was with our first.
That's a good point.
Yeah, something about it.
Yeah, we're in the newborn. Our engine started overheating. Yeah, the explosive pipe. We had a vacation booked for like 6 months with my family, and obviously that's when the hurricane hit. So had a hurricane during vacation. Flights rerouted.
The gas leak. Was it a gas leak? Gas spill? In high school, do you remember that?
Oh yeah,
that South Carolina vacation.
No, we were doing Florida, and then
our point stands. Like if
it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen to us.
It'll happen to us. Yeah, getting pooped on by a bird at a baseball game. I actually make the joke that it's my fault for kissing too many stingrays on the cruise that I went to in 7th grade. They said kiss one, you have 7 years, good luck. I was out there kissing all the stingrays, thinking I had like 35 years of luck ahead of me. And I think I overdid it. I do. But all that to be said, we have decided that we get to deal with adversity, that we get dealt it that much because of how we respond. And that was something that the hospital kept bringing up, is like, and even the maintenance workers, they're like, you're so nice. Thank you for being so understanding. And I'm like, this is the running joke for us. It's not like the hospital staff had any control over the sink in our bathroom. So why like lose your marbles over it?
Well, I mean, we were talking about it too. It's, I think God puts the people he knows can handle it in those situations. And I think we've learned to just be laid back. You've gotten a lot better at it. I've always been that way, but laid back and kind of roll with the punches, because you make the best of every situation that you're in.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, for me, and we talked about this, like if it's something that happens in public, I tend to remain calm a lot easier, because I'm like, I feel bad for people. Like I felt bad for our nurse. I felt bad for these maintenance guys. I felt bad for us. I mean, we inhaled a lot of Drano in a short amount of time. Like there was like 4 bottles poured down my sink. But I can stay calm because I feel bad for the people around us. Whereas like at home, if it's just us and something goes wrong, I feel like I'm Michael Scott on that Office scene where he's like, what's the procedure? And he's losing his mind. Not to that maybe degree.
But you could take the perspective for feeling bad for me if you would like.
No,
I'd appreciate that.
I don't feel bad for you. I mean, I could, I guess. Sometimes I do, but not often.
Yeah, definitely not often.
So that's where I think, we were reflecting on adversity and how we always tend to, or seem to get dealt these like really weird cards. Our wedding is a really good example. Yeah. That just popped in my mind. And I think that maybe that should have been our warning that this was like our life. But at our wedding during, like we were standing up to get our food, like we were being dismissed.
Food
the bridal
speeches,
party was being dismissed to go get their food. And as we were all standing up, my grandpa like had a trans-ischemic attack and collapsed, like fell backwards in his chair. And at the time I was still working at the hospital. So we had a room full of like nurses, and we had first responders. Your brother was there. We had people in the room who like came to the aid, but for like 45 minutes of our wedding ceremony, right at the start,
the wedding was shut down for a good 45 minutes.
Yeah. And my family is dramatic. There was a lot of theatrics involved, and it was kind of one of those things like, what do you do? What do you do in that moment? And we didn't really know. I'm like, do we stop the wedding? Do we keep going? And so once they got him taken to the hospital and he was stable, we just decided that like the show must go on because everybody was there, everything had been paid for. And I mean, we weren't even an hour in to we hadn't even done our first
We had
dance.
just done like the introductions and all that. Like,
yeah,
it was the beginning stages of the wedding.
So my dad gave this prayer speech about my grandpa, and then I think everyone just was like, let's drink and turn this party around. And so that's a really good example. Like when really big things are happening in our lives, I feel like really random moments of adversity just slap us in the face.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how I was always raised, was make the best of every situation.
Yeah.
That's what my mom would always say, is make the best of the situation. So that's what I like to do. And I think a lot of it is when adversity does hit, there's a lot of mindset that goes into it. Because I mean, there's days where I wake up and, I might be tired or something might have happened in my day to day. And, sometimes I do get negative and it starts right when I wake up and then my whole day is affected. Whereas if you can keep that positive mindset, I feel like that's half the battle sometimes.
Well, and I love the saying, like, we can't control how, like, what happens to us. We can't control people's response to us, but we can control how we respond and how we react. And so I think, in adversity, you make a choice. You either choose to make the best of it, like you said. In our case, most of the times now we just laugh at it. Like we really do just laugh.
I feel like being negative and continuing to talk about the negatives is only going to do, what you do at home is spiral. So if you can find light in it, if you can find a positive in it, I feel like that makes it can tend to make the situation better.
Long way because I was raised in just a really negative environment of like everything is a saga and the world is crashing around us all the time and there's always like an obstacle. And so I think for me, because I'm most comfortable at home, that's the space where it's easiest like for me to go back to that. But I also think, it's like you said, some days it's easy and then other days it's hard. Like today it's really rainy and gloomy and we're sleep deprived and like anything that got thrown at us today would be harder for us to respond to than like
our 3-year-old.
Yeah. And then like a sunny day where we've slept all night.
Yeah.
We could go to like the pool. I don't know, something like that. This weather's not helping.
But I will say the one thing that, my mom's all about make the best of your situation, but my dad always tells us it'll all work out. Even through the hurricane, it'll all work out. Through our upcoming, adventures here, it's all going to work out. Like, he just has this positive mindset, and it's like, sometimes I
think he's a little too optimistic.
But I mean, if you can, you're the planner and you have these things, so I can sit back and say it's all going to work out, but you're like over there, planning. I'm
going to figure it out.
You're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And then I'm here for your moral support.
That's right. We outline like the podcast to kind of like organize our thoughts, never scripted because obviously that would be really hard and neither one of us could follow a script. But when you type that, I literally typed on there because Cassie figures it out because I know there's like one person in every relationship and the people that are sitting in my spot understand. You're like, it all works out. And I'm like, because I figured it out. Like there's always one of each. However, I wouldn't be able to figure out anything if I didn't have your support and you cheering me on. That's right.
I'm there to be the positive. Yeah.
Patting me on the back, giving me a random love swat, tap, whatever it is. Like, so you need both. But I was dying at that because I'm like, it all works out. Yeah, it does because someone is figuring it out.
Well, in my defense, I don't think you would like the way that I figure it out because I'm not the type A person. I don't make lists. I don't. I just do, and I don't
to do with lists.
You make lists of it. Your life's motto is "Let's get organized."
I try not to say that anymore because you make fun of me.
But I'm just saying, like, you're that type of way. So I will say, like, every time that we do something and every time that we face adversity, it's very organized in how we get to the outcome.
Yeah.
Whereas if it were me, we would be figuring it out along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think our homework for you guys, because this is like, we got so much good feedback about the pet peeves game and the bowl, for the record. A lot of great feedback about the bowl. And I think, for us, we recognize, like, we hope that there's something you can take away from every episode. And so I think, for us, it's like, how are you facing adversity in your life right now? Obviously our adversity did not end at the hospital. It just began. We're going to dedicate our entire next episode to the transition from 1 to 2 children, not because our baby is giving us a hard time, but because we are being totally overran by our toddler, like, in every way. And we actually started to, outline it for this episode, and we both decided, like, we need to give it a little more time because it is still so new, and there's just so much to share. So I think, for us, we are still in the thick of it, like, and we've got a lot of change and transitions coming up that are only going to add to adversity. And so I would just challenge anybody listening who's facing adversity, whether at work or at home or in their relationship, to really kind of embrace it and make your choice of how you want to deal with it. And I think the analogy you talked about, about big transitions and adversity, that we're going to talk about more next time, is so true. We make choices. You talked about new jobs and things like that. And
well, it's like a new job. You're getting into a new routine. You're going to meet new people. There might be some stress. There might be some anxiety. Your workload's going to be different. It might be a promotion or whatnot. It's exciting, but there's a lot of that emotion, and it's that part of it's very similar to, a toddler.
Yeah. Having a new baby.
Yeah. Incorporating another individual into their life. So we'll talk much more about that, next week. But I think that is a good comparison from the emotional side of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've just the whole idea about, how to overcome the adversity and, keeping a good attitude. And for us, even doing the podcast today, like, we had to really amp ourselves up. I'm literally holding Sophie girl. Like, I don't know how long we've been going, but, like, she's made it through our first episode together. You're like, we did it. But I think, again, just this reminder that life's all about our choices.
You control your mentality. You control what you want to bring to the table, whether that's, a positive manner, negative manner. So sometimes it's easier, said than done to be positive. But if you can find a little light, find a little positive in every situation, like we ran down a list of like 6, 7 things today, and all you can do is laugh at it and try and find that positive.
Even if you've only had 4.5 hours of sleep.
That's right.
That's right. We did it. Well, this one is probably going to be shorter than normal, but I'm pretty excited and proud that we got it done.
Absolutely.
We're really excited to continue to share more about our adventures with you. Our family's got a lot of big things coming up over the next couple of months that we're excited to take you along the ride for. As we said earlier, if you haven't shared, liked, followed, subscribed, please do. We're so glad that you're here. And we've got our little one. We're excited that she's finally here with us too. And mom is no longer waddling around. I'm just, so grateful.
And lastly, just again, to reiterate, just make sure that you post your comments about what your kids say. We would love to hear it. It made us
laugh.
It's making us laugh every day with what Hallie's saying. Yep. So feel free to share if you'd like.
Yeah, thanks. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. And remember, no matter where you are on your journey, every step is a chance to grow together during both perfect and even imperfect moments.
We'll be here to help keep the conversation going, so join us next time for more insights, lots of laughs, and our story. Until then, keep talking, keep listening, and keep showing up for each other. See you next time.